chairs wherever you want. That's the beauty of this place.
I got to get to the real man here.
Okay. Yeah, just tell him what it's for. Thank you. Thank you.
Brought out the big guns today, huh?
Good to see you, man. Doing good.
The Lord be with you. And also with you. Good morning, church. Good morning. On behalf of First United Methodist Church, I am Nolan Sweezy. I'd like to welcome you here to Common Ground, a place for all God's children. Afterwards, be sure not to run away. We have food for you afterwards. Also note the schedule for next week. Know where you're going, Community Pentecostal. Is that correct? Yes. All right. So make a note of that and reach out and invite a friend. We tend to grow as we go through Lent, but we can't grow unless you help us grow. So reach out and invite somebody to come with you to Community Pentecostal. And I'm excited about Bishop Lowry hearing him preach. So his wife preached at Community Revival last year and wore it out and retired the tent afterwards. So what will Bishop Lowry, will he be able to hold it, keep up with her? So we are the body of Christ, so I invite you to stand. And I'm not asking you to shake anybody's hand, but can you bow to one another, to honor one another? Bow to your neighbor. Come on, bow to your neighbor. Wave to your neighbor.
We need elbow.
Don't shake their hand or give them a kiss. Come on to them.
Yeah.
And then don't sit back down. Take your hymn books and turn to page 140. Page 140, Great is Thy Faithfulness.
Oh God, my Father, there is no shadow of turning with Thee. Thou changest not, Thy compassions, they fail not. As Thou hast been, Thou forever wilt be. Great is Thy faithfulness, great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, Thy hand hath provided. Great is Thy faithfulness, Lord, unto Thee. Summer and winter and springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with all nature in manifold witness to Thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Great is Thy faithfulness, great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, Thy hand hath provided. Great is Thy faithfulness, Lord, unto
seated.
Morning. Morning. Wasn't that good? Amen. And I got a feeling long after I read this passage, it's going to get gooder and gooder. My name is Eric Cheney. I am the youth and children's pastor at Stanley Pentecostal, and I'll be reading to you from Psalm 6. The psalmist writes, O Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger, nor chasten me in your displeasure. Have mercy on me, O Lord, for I am weak. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are troubled. My soul also is greatly troubled. But you, Lord, how long? Return, O Lord, deliver me. O save me for your mercy's sake. For in death there is no remembrance of you. In the grave who will give you thanks? I am weary with my groaning. All night I make my bed swim. I drench my couch with my tears. My eye wastes away because of grief. It grows old because of all my enemies. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity. For the Lord has heard the voice of my weeping. The Lord has heard my supplication. The Lord will receive my prayer. Let all my enemies be ashamed and greatly troubled. Let them turn back and be ashamed suddenly. Psalm 6.
Let the church say amen. Amen. Oh, we can do better than that. Let the church say amen. Amen. Grace and peace be unto you. From God the Father, Jesus Christ his Son, and the blessed Holy Ghost, in the matchless name of our precious Lord and our risen and supreme Savior. I count it a joy and a privilege to be in the midst of those who love the Lord, and I have been given the distinct honor. That was an assignment that was given to me on yesterday afternoon via text as to whether I would assume the responsibility of introducing our honored guest and evangelist for this second in a series of noonday Niton services for 2020. In preparation for and anticipation of, it became extremely obvious that our honored guest and I are kindred spirits of soul. And I'm honored to say without question that it's good to be in the presence of a man who has spent more money and time and resources in tuition than I have. Amen. For his academic career has taken him from NC State to Duke University to George Fox University, having earned the bachelor's degree, Master of Divinity, and Doctor of Ministry, respectively, in addition to postgraduate work at Princeton University in Princeton, New Jersey. Y'all say amen. Amen. But in addition to that, he, like I, are married to educators. And in addition to that, our lives and our homes are run by women. Church say, praise the Lord. But above and beyond that, not only is he one who's immersed in learning, and he has a passion for adventure, but he's also a spirit, he's immersed in a spirit of humility. He has a pastor's heart. He embraces the community and that he serves and surrounding. And at no time that when this invitation has been extended has he ever hesitated, not one iota, to say yes and thank you for the privilege. You just can't help but love a brother like that. Therefore, Having served for 12 years as senior pastor of the First Baptist Church in Mount Holly, North Carolina, it is indeed my honor and privilege to present to some and introduce to others your friend and mine, the Reverend Dr. Kendall Cameron, senior pastor of the First Baptist Church of Mount Holly, North Carolina. Let us welcome him with a warm amen, a warm hallelujah, a warm praise the Lord. Hear ye him. He wasn't afraid to hug me.
Now, if I got introductions like that every Sunday, my church would never let me come back. They think I get too big for my britches. It is good to be with y'all, and I'm very thankful to be invited back again. It's always great to be in this community, which is why I immediately say yes when I'm asked. I love being a part of all of you all and the ministers here in Stanley, but of course my dear, dear friend Lou Price, who, if you don't know, a few years ago when we were between ministers of music, I was begging someone to help us, and Lou was gracious enough. So she is, I adore her for many reasons, but saving me with handbells was one of them. I'm always thankful when I get to be with Lou. Thank you. I want to say a word about my upbringing. I grew up in Fayetteville, and I grew up in a particular sect of the Southern Baptist tradition. Pretty conservative, I guess, is the language for it. I mean, we believe that there were Catholics, there were Protestants, and then there were God's people, the Baptists. And y'all are laughing at that, but there's some truth to that. We deeply questioned whether our Catholic friends were Christians, and we had a lot of suspects among the Methodists and Presbyterians. And if you weren't baptized right, we questioned you. Just want to say. And I had a lot of questions, particularly from my Catholic friends. I had a lot of Catholic friends growing up in a military community, and about this Lent thing. You know, and my good friend Sharon would always give up something. And I would always kind of laugh at her, you know, give up chocolate. I said, that's the glory of being Baptist. I don't want to give up anything. Nobody's going to make me give up something. I got to tell somebody about it, you know. And I'll tell you that I thought it was deeply suspect, to be honest. I questioned the validity of it. I mean, what are you trying to do? Curry favor with God? Do you think God's going to love you more if you give up sweet tea or Coca-Cola or chocolate or whatever thing you give up? I really thought that it was almost unchristian. Tony Campolo book called You Can Make a Difference. It was written for teenagers and college students. It's 4 little chapters, and what's amazing is that book is 30-something years old now, and it's still relevant. Now, I will say that if any of you go on Amazon and buy it, I would have 2 caveats for you. Caveat number 1 is that the chapter on dating probably doesn't apply to a lot of us in this room today, but it's some good stuff. Caveat number 2 is, if you can get the 1984 edition, laugh at their haircuts. But there's a guy on the front row, and I had a shirt just like that. Nice and bold colors. My mother bought it for me. But one of the stories he tells in that book is a story of a revival in a community like ours, where every year maybe there's a revival, and every year at the tent revival, a man comes up and he goes to the front and he gets at the altar. Fill me, Jesus! Fill me, Jesus! Just fill me! And every year he'd come back, every single year, and then the rest of the year he lived his wanton ways. But every year at the revival, fill me, Jesus! Fill me, Jesus! And finally, one year he got up there and he's crying out, fill me, Jesus! And one lady says, don't do it, Lord, he leaks! But isn't that the reality for each of us? That we leak, that we miss the mark, that for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Isn't it true that for each of us? And I've thought about that story a lot over the years, that it's kind of the two-sided nature of it. I mean, one side is the reality that it is true for all of us. And here's a message for the Church of Jesus Christ today, is too often we look at the rest of the world and we say that they leak. I always say the truest story in the New Testament outside of the resurrection itself is probably the Pharisee and the tax collector. When the Pharisee says, "Thank Lord, I'm not like that guy." And the tax collector simply says, "Have mercy on me, a poor sinner." The tax collector understood that he leaked. And the Pharisee, we church people, kind of look askance at others and say, "Thank God I'm not like him or her. Thank God I'm not like that person in the neighborhood that is mowing their lawn on Sunday morning." I was leaving for church a few weeks ago. Sunday morning, about 9 a.m., heading over to church. Some guy in my neighborhood's out there mowing his lawn. And I immediately thought, he doesn't need to be doing that right now. He needs to be on his way to church. Now, I didn't stop and say that to him. I wasn't willing to stop and love on him. I was just willing to judge him. Because I leak. You see, that's what this Psalm 6, and Psalm 6 is one of the 6 penitential psalms, as we call it. Probably the one that we know the best is Psalm 51. I purposely didn't use Psalm 51 today for 2 reasons. Number one, I am loving enough of my clergy friends to leave it to one of them if they want to preach Psalm 51. But also, I was terrified that maybe somebody preached it last week, and then I'd be in real trouble for you to hear the sermon on two preachers on the same passage. That passage, of course, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not from thy presence. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation," as David cries out. But here in Psalm 6, the psalmist is crying out for forgiveness. Please, Lord. And out of fear, but remember that fear in the Old Testament is about reverence. Reverence for God and realizing that I leak. That I've missed the mark. That I need Him in my life. That I need forgiveness. You see, that's what the Lenten season is really about for me. And giving up having it my way. You know the old line at was it McDonald's, have it your way? No, Burger King. Have it your way. But you know what? That's the problem in our world. We all want to have it our way. And Jesus says we're supposed to have it His way. Because He is the way, the truth, and the life. Dr. Williams was very kind in his words of my many years of paying tuition. My wife reminds me of that from time to time. I remember when I went to George Fox University to do my doctorate, and my program was called Leadership and Spiritual Formation. I was looking for a program that would look at how we as a church grow spiritually, not just individuals, but as congregations. And that's what led me to Fox, a historically Quaker school. That's a big deal to Quakers over the centuries. And I remember thinking that when I went into the program, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get all I can out of the spiritual formation side of things, but I have no interest in this leadership thing at all. I mean, I'll read the stupid books from the Harvard School of Leadership, and I'll read those secular books on leadership, but I have no interest in any of that. That is not my thing. And then I got to George Fox. And the head of the program, Dr. Chuck Connery, pulled us aside. He said, I want you to understand something on the first day. We believe, as Quakers, that the Church of Jesus Christ has one leader, and our job is to listen to Him. So leadership is about learning to listen, and it's learning to get all of our stuff out of the way so that we can follow Him. I tell our church all the time that, and I keep saying this till somebody will agree with me, that I believe the most often broken commandment is the first one. That I believe that the 10 Commandments are in order for a reason. And by the way, I'm not the only person that says that, but I still am waiting for somebody to agree with me. And I say that to say, people always go, but Kendall, that's clearly not the case. I mean, clearly we don't do those, thou shalt have no other gods before me. I don't have other gods. I don't bow down to something else. I don't worship something else. I work with the youth in our church, and I sometimes will ask them this question. Every few years, I'll come back around to this lesson, and I'll ask, and they'll say, clearly the most often broken commandment is, thou shalt not bear false witness. Because we lie all the time. We lie to our parents, we lie to our teachers, we lie to you. Oh, sorry. And I'm like, no, the most often broken one is the first one. Because we all create gods in our life. Things that we give ourselves to. Things that get in the way. Whether it be our social media, whether it be our televisions, whether it be even attendance in church. We give ourselves to things rather than giving ourselves to the one who is the way, the truth, and the life. That's why we need Lent. That's why we've got to get the idea that we have to give up having it our way so that we can do it His way. And we can make the biggest difference in the world when we do. I sometimes get in trouble for saying this, and in an ecumenical audience, forgive me for this, but I always say my 5 favorite Christians are all Baptists. And not only are they all Baptists, they're all Georgia Baptists. I am a native Georgian. My family moved to Georgia the year after it was founded. 1734. And so I always say my 5 favorite Baptists of all time, favorite Christians are all Georgians. And they're kind of in this order. I'll go from descending to ascending. So Jimmy Carter, Dr. Clarence Jordan, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and then Buck and Dorothy Cameron, my mom and dad. They made the list. They're number 1 and 2. But if you don't know Clarence Jordan, he's one of my favorite people of all time. Clarence Jordan was a Baptist minister. He graduated from the University of Georgia in agriculture. He was a farmer. And then he went to Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, ended up doing his PhD in New Testament Greek, went back to Georgia in the 1940s, late 30s and early 40s, and he started a farm where white folks and black folks lived and worked together in a community. He started translating the Bible into South Georgia because he realized a lot of the sharecropping farmers that he knew didn't have the reading skills to read the King James well. And some of you know the Cotton Patch Gospel that came out of that, where he translated Jerusalem to Atlanta. But because it was a communal farm, whites and blacks working together, serving together, taking care of one another, they, by the 1950s, became the target of the KKK. The KKK would drive down the road and shoot at them, koinonia partners, koinonia farms. That Greek word for community. They blew up the feed store in Americus, Georgia that gave feed for their animals. They did all kinds of things. Clarence Jordan's brother was a state senator at the time. So, and by the way, if you don't know, that's how you say Jordan down in South Georgia. It's not Jordan, it's Jordan. And just like it's not Albany, Georgia, it's Albany, Georgia. But Clarence went to his brother, the state senator, his own brother. And he said, you've got to do something about this. You've got to go to Atlanta. You're a Christian. You're a follower of Jesus. You have to stand up. You have to be counted. You have to make a difference. Well, Clarence, I can't do that. I'm a follower of Jesus. But if I do that, I won't get reelected. Don't you know? I can't do it. And Clarence looked at his own brother. And he said, you're not a follower of Jesus. You're just an admirer of Jesus. The cross is before us. We have to ask the question, are we a follower of Jesus today? And if we are, then it starts with our penitence before God, as the psalmist says, as we get right with God and then right with one another. And it starts by simply saying, I can't have my way all the time. It cannot always be about me and what I want and what I feel I need. It has to be about Him. Have thine own way, Lord. Are we willing to sing that today and mean it? Are we willing to let go to embrace what God has for us? Most of you know that we at First Baptist of Mount Holly have been in a process for some time of rebuilding our sanctuary. I am happy to tell you that we will be in our sanctuary, hopefully by late summer. July, August is the timetable we've been told, so we're saying December. But one of the things that has come about in our building process was that we had to get bids from stained glass companies, and we had two of them, happened to both be in Statesville, and they knew they were competing with one another, so they were trying to goose things for us, to try to get us to pick them, and of course, I hate to tell you this, but it really came down to who's cheaper, because that's what the insurance company was going to pay for. But one of the companies that did have the lowest bid anyway said not only would they put our windows back the way they were and all the things that were in the contract, they would also design us a brand new window that would show on Main Street in Mount Holly. And I had the privilege to, we went through all the process. They sent us a designer. He came up with options and we chose. And our building team chose. And on Sunday, we unveiled it for First Baptist Church. I want to unveil it for you because it fits to what we're saying today. And so we put it on the screen. Sometime in a few months, that will be the stained glass window that will appear on Main Street in Mount Holly, North Carolina. It's called Come Unto Me. As Jesus says to us in Matthew 11, come unto me. But one of the images that we love so much about this is the open arms of Jesus. And the question we have to ask about ourselves is, are we willing to come open armed to Him? Doesn't it take open arms from both sides to get a hug? Have you ever gotten a hug from somebody who's doing this? When you read Psalm 6 or Psalm 51, any of the penitential psalms, you got to open up your arms. Because Jesus already has His arms open to you. He already has His arms open to me. We just have to say to Him, have thine own way, Lord. Have thine own way. And if you agree with that sermon, will all of God's children say, Amen.
Thank you, Kendall. So we'll receive our offering now. Our offering goes to United Action of Stanley Churches to support our community revival in May. The dates are May the 12th through the 17th, so mark your calendars. And the offering will go for that. So we invite our usher to come forward. We need a few volunteers to help take up the offering. If you would help down here.
In the midst of His children, the Lord said He would be. It doesn't take very many. It can be just 2 or 3, and I feel that same sweet spirit that I felt of times before. Surely I can say that I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on His face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. There's a holy hush around us as God's glory fills this place. I've touched the hem of His garment. I can almost see His face, and my heart is overflowing with the fullness of His joy. I know without a doubt that I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on His face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
So we stand and sing hymn number 382.
Have hallowed sway. Fill with thy spirit, till all shall see Christ only always living in me.
Amen. 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 Very good friends. Thank you, Lord, for this prepared meal that we got to serve. Asking you, dear Lord, to bless it mentally, physically, and spiritually. Bless it that we'll be able to know that your God and there is no other God but your good God. Thank you, Jesus. Now may we be dismissed. Now, dismiss her today. You have blessed us with a wonderful worship service. We have been able to give praise because you have been so good to us in every way. But we're asking you to bless us as we go through this Lenten season, that we'll be able to take off and put on what we need to be added to our lives, Lord. Thank you for all your blessings. And may we be dismissed in your name, Lord, until we meet again. Amen. 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 Amen.
I got that real gold chance. Yes.
How you doing, James?
Wait,
you, man.
Can I remind you that in 1957,
I'm doing fine, man.
in 1957, North Carolina,
You've been working hard.
Kansas in triple overtime, they won it with 7 plays.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, that's where we are.
That's right. Thank you, my friend.
It's so good to be with y'all.
It's good to
Appreciate it.
have you with. It's good to have you, man.
That was wonderful. Okay.
By the way, we're also doing it. Watch out.
Hey, look, if that is in trouble, you got a big game this weekend, don't you? Y'all should have won the last one. Y'all should have won the last one. That ball. This ball. All of them had to happen for blazing hot. People come back. You give you 1,000 times for doing it. You take practice that and get the ball. And then, so then they go up by 5 minutes over. And then we come back. Trey come right down and hold it on the foul in your eye. You got 3 layups. You get everything for it. Yeah. These girls go to lay the I'll spy it out.
Listen.
He's evening up the
Listen.
All I hope is I hope you win so you don't finish in last place. I mean, really.
Well, the only
You never get in last place before.
well,
Ross will put you guaranteed.
but now, no. Last place in the bad place.
Oh, okay.
And the last shall be first.
You think that will get you?
Why not? Might get us in the NCAA if we win the tournament. If we win the tournament.
That's the only
If we win the tournament.
Hey, listen, you know if these guys are hoping, it's because all the kids talking about the last 100 games, they're throwing out the entire ride. They make it look even. The last 100 games,
You go back to the. You probably got a shirt that's got that NCAA.
Hey, with his Superman on.
That's right.
Papa said there's something going on.